I thought it was a nice one. Oh my God.
Because you guys sat down.
Yeah, it's chaotic.
You ready, Mr. President?
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Gammon. I'm the chair of the board of directors for the Association of Vermont Credit Unions. Welcome. We appreciate your participation today. We would ask that you provide your name and credit union name if you make or second any motions or provide any other questions or comments. I now call the 71st annual meeting of the Association of Vermont Credit Unions to order. And for the first time ever, we are live streaming this event on the Vermont Credit Union's YouTube channel. Joe assures me the 20 or 30,000 people watching this will have direct access. Even though only in-person delegates can cast votes, if you are watching online, feel free to provide online comments or questions. I now call upon Secretary Allen for incorporation of the official call of the minutes of this meeting and for the report of the Credentials Committee. Come back.
The official call to the 71st annual meeting of the Association of Vermont Credit Unions was sent via electronic mail to all member credit unions on February 2nd, 2018. I'm pleased to report that the Credentials Committee reports that there are 13 member credit unions present today for a total of 26 votes. Let me buy it first.
Thank you, Carrie. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the general rules of order as published in our online yearbook. Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Matt Lewandowski, Heritage Family Credit.
Thank you, Matt. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce the Association Board of Directors. Susan Posabet, Vice Chair, formerly of North Country Federal Credit Union. Jeff Morse, Treasurer, River Valley Credit Union. Carrie Allen, Secretary, Heritage Family Federal Credit Union. Rick Hummel, Director, Vermont State Employees Credit Union. And I just forgot Brett's name. Brett Smith, Director, One Credit Union. And Jim St. Peter, Director, New England Federal Credit Union. And nothing to do with this golf game this morning. A few other introductions I'd like to make. Michael Pichek, Commissioner from Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Thank you for coming today, Michael. Jesse Rocheleau, Mayhem Peisch & Company. Thank you, Jesse. And Richard Brock, the Association's Legal Counsel of Brock & Brock. Thank you. I'm also appointing Mr. Brock as our parliamentarian for today's business meeting. Now, please join me in thanking all the association staff members, both in this room and here this weekend, for their outstanding work supporting Vermont credit unions throughout the past year. I am appointing Mary Robert as our recording secretary for the minutes of this meeting, and I'd like to thank staff members Jennifer Malrue and Liz Williams for serving as our credentials committee today. The minutes of the 70th annual meeting are published in our online yearbook. I'll entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of these minutes and accept them as printed. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Joe. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Moving on to item number 7, new business, and the proposed bylaw amendment. Notice of the proposal was sent to all member credit union chief executives. It was also detailed in Newslines Express and published on the association's website. The proposed amendment seeks to accomplish 2 things. First is to move the date used for the dues calculation from September 30th to June 30th. This will help assist in the timing of the collection of the CUNA dues that the association also facilitates, as well as it'll provide earlier invoices to member credit unions that assist both credit unions and the association in the budgeting process each year. The second change is deleting the reference to a 4-year transition period that was added when the current dues formula was put in place in 2013. This temporary provision has expired and is no longer in effect. Is there any discussion on this proposed amendment to the bylaws? I'll now entertain a motion to accept the bylaw as presented. Thank you, Lisa. Is there a second? Thank you, Eileen. Now, passage of the bylaw amendment requires an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the voting delegates present, which for today's meeting is 18 of the 26 possible votes. We'll attempt to conduct this by a voice vote. Is there any opposition to a voice vote? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to accept the bylaw amendment as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you. Is there any other new business to be conducted at this meeting? Hearing none, and given that there is no old business from last year's meeting, we move on to the elections. The report of the nominating committee is published in our online yearbook. I'd like to thank and recognize Committee Chair Susan Posabut for her efforts, as well as members Wanda Dunham and Bob Blake. I'll now ask Susan to take the podium.
No absentee ballots were submitted on or before the announced deadline of May 4th. Likewise, there were no petition requests to add candidates to the ballot received on or before the announced deadline of April 13th. Since no petition candidates were received, the slate of candidates presented in the committee's report remains as originally presented. Please stand and be recognized as I call your name. Sean Gammon, Members Advantage Community Credit Union. Rick Hummel, Vermont State Employees Credit Union. Lisa Heyer, North Country Federal Credit Union. As there are 3 expiring positions and 3 candidates, I declare that all are elected by acclamation. Please join me in congratulating the candidates. Chairman?
Whew, that was stressful. Thank you, Susan. Before I ask Joe to present his report to the membership, I'd just like to recognize a couple of people. First one is Susan Posabut. I've had the pleasure to serve on the board with Susan for the last 15 years. I think she's served for 18 years. And her leadership over the years has been absolutely tremendous. Her commitment to the credit union industry, and she's been a truly professional colleague of mine and good friend. So I really would like to thank her for her service. And I'm very proud of the ongoing success of the association. And of course, it's the leadership of Joe Bergeron that drives that. And I just want to make mention that this will be Joe's 40th year at the association, 36 of which I believe as the leader. So clearly our success is a big part of Joe's leadership. So thank you, Joe. I'll now ask President Bergeron to make a few comments.
Thank you, Chairman Sean. And in line with the chair's now, what is it, like a 9-minute meeting so far or something like that? I have no prepared remarks. Yeah, I heard that applause.
Thank you, Joe.
However, that doesn't mean I'm not going to say something. You are all on YouTube this afternoon, even though it's the back of most of your heads that's on YouTube. But we thought we'd give that a try for the first time to allow people that aren't here with us this weekend to see this event this afternoon, and then tomorrow afternoon when we do a political session with our advocacy team, we're going to be broadcasting that as well. And it might not be 20 or 30,000 viewers, maybe 2 or 3, but whatever it is, it'll be a first for us, and so we're real proud of that. And we'll be recording it, and we'll have it for future reference too. And just as Sean has given thanks to the staff, I want to thank all the people that serve on this board currently, and all the people that have served on this board all before them, because just like the boards in your individual credit unions, it takes a lot of time and effort and thoughtfulness to be taking your credit union hat off and to be putting your league hat on or association hat on when you're sitting in one of our board meetings and trying to do what's best for the whole of all Vermont credit unions. And they've done that successfully, forever, for as long as I've been around. And, I want to make mention, Vermont, as far as credit union land is concerned, is, I think it's like the second smallest number of credit unions in the country. But in an age of consolidation that we see, not just in credit union land, but in all kinds of areas of business, I guess I'm really, really proud of the fact of how successful that we are for such a small organization. And it's because of innovation, thoughtfulness from your board of directors, dedication by our staff, creative thinking. There's a lot more things that we want to do than we have time to do. And I think that's a good sign of forward movement in an organization of any size. The fact that we've done a patronage refund back to our member credit unions for over a decade. Is it a decade or 11 years? I forget which now, but a decade anyway. And it totals about $1.25 million now. And I'm really proud of that. And I don't measure the success of our organization by how much of a check we give to credit unions, just like you don't measure the success of your credit union by just, what your delinquency rate is or what your savings account rate is or something like that. But the fact that we can do it at all in a state with 18 credit unions, with all the different lines of business that we do and everything among those 18 credit unions, says something really great about this board of directors and our staff that works for you and what we do together as a credit union family in the state of Vermont. So I'm really proud of that, and I hope you are too. We rank, as I said, by numbers of credit unions on the very low end of the spectrum. But performance-wise, financially, I know all of my peers and all of the fellow organizations around the country. And, on a percentage scale, we're very high in terms of participation in our convention weekend, participation in our state house, our success with advocacy, our financial performance, our return to members, and on and on and on. And that's something that I hope you are all proud of as much as I am. With that, thank you to you and everyone else from your credit unions and everyone else that's not in this meeting for taking time from a nice, today, sunny, tomorrow, rainy weekend to be with us here in Woodstock, because that too says a lot about the support that we enjoy from all of our member credit unions. So thank you very much from me, from the staff. Thank you, board. Thank you, attendees. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any questions or discussion on any of the reports from the annual business meeting? At this time, I'll entertain a motion to dispense with further reports and accept them as printed.
So moved, Matt Lewandowski.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jim. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Again, we're pleased to have with us today Michael Pichek from the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. I'd ask Michael to come up and say a few words for us today.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you very much for having me. I know every year I come, I say the good work that Vermont credit unions are doing, both state chartered and federally chartered. So I just want to reiterate that again today with you, that your members and the people in the communities that you serve are a vital piece of the financial infrastructure here in Vermont, and the community work that you do as well in terms of supporting your communities. helping people get their first car loan, helping people consolidate their debt to make a fresh start, helping people get their first home here in Vermont. All that work is so important to our financial system and important to the success of our state, both on an individual level and also on a larger economic level. So hats off to you all for doing that. On a personal note, not that I should have a favorite credit union, but I do have a credit union in the room that Jeff operates and manages that gave me my first loan ever as a person when I was trying to get a vehicle to attend the University of Miami Law School back when I was living in Brattleboro. So they were very good and easy to work with. I think I had gotten, which I don't recommend for anybody going off to school or anybody ever, I think I had like 1 or 2 or 3 days to get the car and then make it to Miami. And I had got the car picked out, but I didn't have the money to pay for it yet. So the River Valley Credit Union was very quick to work with me on getting that loan, and it allowed me to get to law school and allowed me to have a legal career. So I have always been appreciative of that, and it is, I think, indicative of the good work that credit unions do across the state. So I really do appreciate that work and congratulate you on it. In fact, I think I understand from Molly Dillon that 2017 marked a year, based on NCUA calculations, that Vermont was the first state among credit unions in all states in terms of the growth rate as a percentage of deposits. So a very successful year in 2017, certainly due in part to the movement of consolidation happening both on the banking side and the credit union side. And certainly that interest and desire for Vermonters to get financial services locally and to get them from people that are in their community, serving their community. So congratulations on a successful 2017. I just wanted to touch upon a few things that are happening at the department and a few things that have our focus. First of all, I think most of you know that we have a new banking deputy, Molly Dillon. Molly Dillon comes most recently from the Merchants Bank Trust Company, where she was president for about 7 or 8 years. She's been in the industry for over 30 years. She has a tremendous amount of background. She's great in terms of her collegial attitude and her collegial work ability, both from the regulated entity perspective and then also from those that get the pleasure of working with her at the department. So if you don't know Molly, and I encourage you to reach out to her so that you do, she would be very much open and willing and engaging in terms of sitting down and talking with you and talking with anyone within your organizations that you see fit. A couple of the issues that we're really focused on at the department, number one, I would say, is the issue of cybersecurity. I want to thank John Dwyer, who's here, who participated yesterday in a roundtable that the department put on this issue. I think you heard the governor say that, the cost from our economic standpoint that we suffer from cybersecurity is tremendous. The U.S. Council of Economics told us that it was something like $50 to $100 billion that we lose from our economy every single year due to cybersecurity attacks. And then the thing that really comes home to me is the amount that and the impact that we have on our smaller companies. Many of our smaller credit unions sort of fit into this category. But 2/3 of all cyber attacks are against smaller companies, small businesses at this point. The larger cyber attacks can cost up to $100,000. And in fact, research suggests that 60% of companies, smaller companies that do suffer a cyber incident, are out of business, shut down within 6 months of suffering that. So whether it's our financial regulated entities or whether it's your clients that you're servicing, certainly cybersecurity is a top priority. Events like what we just did yesterday with the department are ways that we're trying to push out information and push out resources and make that available to everyone in our industry, particularly though our smaller credit unions, our smaller banks, our smaller IA firms, broker-dealer firms, those that might not have the sophisticated software, the sophisticated hardware, or the IT personnel. So we're willing to work with all of our regulated entities when it comes to the issue of cybersecurity. Please reach out if you have any questions or need any suggestions or advice. I think I'll just mention a couple of other things relating to Washington, D.C. I think, as probably Joe will mention at some point during an advocacy update, H2155 is scheduled to be voted on in the House of Representatives on Monday. And this is the bill that would provide regulatory relief to smaller financial institutions as well as larger financial institutions. But from a department's perspective, we're happy that some of the regulations at least will be right-sized for many of the entities. I think probably every entity that operates in Vermont has a large presence in Vermont. Will see the benefits from that bill. So I think that's something that many credit unions in Vermont are looking forward to. Similarly, I know the NCUA is moving their regional office from Albany down, I think, to Virginia. And as Molly Dillon pointed out to me, we're in Montpelier and we're staying in Montpelier. So if there's ever any desire from some of our federal friends to discuss, having a local regulator, we're happy to entertain those conversations. So feel free to stop by and talk to us about that. But with that, I just want to, again, reiterate our appreciation and thanks. Joe mentioned how credit unions are in strong shape here in Vermont. As the financial regulator, I can attest to that. We have good working relationships with all of our regulated entities across the spectrum, whether it's insurance or captives or securities, but certainly here within the financial services sector and credit unions, we really enjoy the relationships that we have and the professional working relationships, in large part due to the leadership in your organizations, the board members, and the professionalism in which you engage. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and I hope to get to meet those of you that I don't know. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I would now ask Tracy McNeil from CUNY Mutual Group to please come up.
So I want to start by thanking the association and all the credit unions in Vermont for your ongoing support and partnership. When Jeff Pierce asked me to do the CUNY Mutual remarks, he said, make sure I take 30 minutes for you, Sean. But no, it should only be about 10, I'm hoping. So I've been with CUNY Mutual 14 years, and I can say I have never been more excited about our direction than I am today. And the reason why is we have a multi-year, multi-million-dollar plan to invest in helping credit unions stay relevant in the future. And what I mean by that is you hear, and any event you go to today, you hear about fintechs, insurtechs, disruption. And it's not just a buzzword. If you don't think it's impacting your credit union, look at where your members' payments are going. Do they have a student loan with SoFi? Are they sending money to Lending Club? Are they using a cash app that's not your mobile app experience? So we're really watching these disruptors. And in the last 2 years, we've made a $60 million investment in CMFG Ventures. And that's our venture capital arm of CUNY Mutual. And we're really looking to invest in startups that have the passion to serve the credit union industry, as well as align with the goals of a credit union. So we're starting to see some results. Recently, we have launched ForeverCar. ForeverCar allows your members to research, purchase, and finance extended warranties all online. So no longer does your loan staff have to be the experts in extended warranties or mechanical repair coverage, but really it's about email marketing and you getting that affinity when they go to that online portal. The other one is predictive loan growth. So we're able to leverage the same platform that large commercial banks and the automotive industry are leveraging to use analytics so to help you guys put pre-approved offers in your members' hands when they are shopping, at the time they are shopping. And we're also investing in our core products. So we're designing that omni-channel member experience. TrueStage was just recognized by CBS Money Watch as a disruptor in the insurance business because now your members can apply for term or whole life in less than 11 minutes online. That's unheard of. Most insurance companies take 11 days to process that application. And Quote Connect's another integration that we have with some loan origination systems, as well as Protection Advisor, that allows your loan officer to ask that member, hey, are you interested in auto insurance when they're taking that loan application? And by the time your member gets home, they have a preliminary offer for that auto insurance. So pretty cool stuff. But what I'm most excited about is Advantage Analytics. So we launched Advantage Analytics just last year. When you think about Chase Bank, okay, they have relationships with almost 50% of American households. They've invested $1 billion in the last 2 years in data and analytics, and they have 200 data scientists on staff. That's a lot of data scientists to have on staff. And this is a new terrain for credit unions. So our company has made the commitment to invest $250 million over the next 5 years in Advantage Analytics. And I don't know if you saw, but we just got the endorsement and partnership of Microsoft, which is awesome. Because what Microsoft is going to allow us to do is integrate with all third-party systems in a secure way. So when we started talking to credit unions, they have a lot of information that's outside of their core and housed everywhere. So this partnership, I'm really excited about. But even though we're moving fast and innovating, we still stay true to what we are. 2017, there was tornadoes, there was disasters. We were boots on the ground, helping those credit unions get up and running and serving their members. And in fact, we paid $4 million to members of Vermont credit unions just last year, and $2 million of straight non-interest income to your bottom line through the sale of protecting ancillary, protecting your members with ancillary products. So we are excited about this. We thank you for all of your partnerships, and I hope you have a great rest of the time at this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. I now would ask Steve Roy from Tricorp Federal Credit Union to come up. No pressure, Steve, but in
I'm the last one to get
4 minutes, we can break the record. 4 minutes.
Thank you, Sean. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. It always is a lot of fun. You're a great group. It's just a great time, a great setting. So we really appreciate being able to be here. Deb Vogt is with me in the back, and Denise will be joining us later. So we really appreciate the chance to be here. I'm very happy to tell you that everything is very, very good at Tricor. I really appreciate all the support from all of you. We're in very, very good position. If you look at all the qualitative measures of risk, whether it be interest rate risk or credit risk or liquidity risk, net economic value or weighted average life or capital, we're in very, very good position. So I don't want to bore you with a lot of numbers. I know we send out quarterly financial information, but it's really, really gratifying because obviously there were some challenges over time, but with everybody's support, the board very committed, my teammates and all of you that have stuck with us, it's come to a very, very good point. So we're very, very pleased to report that. Obviously, the interest rate environment has helped us quite a bit, but we, over the years, positioned ourselves to be ready for a rising rate environment because our balance sheet is pretty much an overnight balance sheet. So we stayed short and we stayed in floating, and it certainly paid off. And with each interest rate rise, we've been able to pass those rates on. And as we go forward, it's our intention to pass those on fully with each interest rate rise that we see. So we're very pleased to be able to do that. And speaking of that, I think it's a pretty sure bet that we're going to have a rate increase in June. The Fed funds probability curve is at 100%. So that's usually a pretty good predictor. And I would venture to say that we're probably going to have another one in September, because the probability curve is at 75% right now. So could even possibly have another one in December. It's about a 50-50 bet right now on whether there could be another one in December. But the other part of that, obviously, is how the 10-year Treasury is performing, because typically in the old days, if you had a flat or inverted yield curve, you could have the indication of a recession. But today, the last I checked, the 10-year Treasury was at 307. So I think that's probably an indicator that we're not headed for that, but who knows for sure. But in any event, we continue to focus, on our core services, our, short-term overnight liquidity options, settlement, correspondent services, and all of our partner solutions, which do include some long-term investment options. But right now, one of the areas of focus for us is this whole issue of faster payments. I'm sure you're hearing a lot about that, and there's a lot going on. And I would say that for all of us, regardless of where you are in the payment stream today, this could be something that could have an impact on all of us going forward. So from Tricor's perspective, we want to make sure that we continue to stay involved and up to date so that we can provide settlement. There's a lot that can happen with this. There's a lot that has to happen. You may remember initially there was a faster payments task force. Then that melded into a government framework formation team. Now there's a group trying to form a U.S. Faster Payments Council. And this is a group that actually wants to have a budget They want to have, as many financial institutions as possible be part of the council. They're actually looking for donations. And their goal is, and I'm going to just read it as it's stated, they want to have a ubiquitous, world-class system in 2020 where Americans can safely and securely pay anyone, anywhere, at any time, and with immediate funds availability. And, I don't want to handicap the chances on that, but it's, by 2020, that's not that far away to get everybody connected. And they use the term ubiquitous, meaning that everybody's going to be able to participate at the same level. So there's a lot of work that has to happen for that to take place. But from our perspective, we've been meeting with various organizations, some people from this council, Federal Reserve Bank, talking about settlement to make sure that we are there to help all of you settle for your members. There's lots of things you have to look at. There's talk about having a real-time gross payment system, which would be, real-time right away. There's also talk about a deferred net settlement system, because how are you going to fund these things on Saturday, Sunday, overnight? For the meetings I've been with the Fed, I don't think they're planning on being open on weekends. Then some of the other financial institutions have talked about funding if you're having real-time settlement all the time. So there are a lot of things that have to happen in that arena. But I would say to you that we're engaged, we're involved, we're trying to make sure that we're there for any of the meetings and conferences that are available to us. I know we're having another conference call with the Fed next week to talk about this. I will say this, there is two schools of thought about this. There's one group out there that would just like to have a private operator. So some of you may have heard of like the clearinghouse. And I think they want to be the operator. There are a number of other financial institutions, and we heard this directly from a gentleman from JP Morgan. There are a lot of, we'll say, small banks, I think in our world that would be pretty large, right? But there's a lot of them that are saying that they don't want to do this unless the Fed's going to be the operator. So there are some things that have to be worked out. But I guess for all of us, it's something that we need to stay focused on, because it's probably coming. I mean, it's already there in some parts of Europe. And, with things like Zelle and Venmo and things like that, there's just a tug to go to a faster payment system. So again, Tricor is going to stay involved and engaged, and we will be there to settle that for you, however that works. So other than that, thank you again for the opportunity to be here. Really appreciate it. It's always a very good time. And how did I do? Perfect. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for your participation in today's meeting. Just a reminder, the exhibit hall and reception opens at 4 o'clock, and dinner starts outside in the pavilion at 6:30. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Michael, is there a second? Second. Jim, thank you. All in favor? Aye. So moved. The 71st annual meeting of the Association of Vermont Credit Unions now stands adjourned.
Organizational meeting is in this little boardroom right down the hall.
Thank you for your kind words.
Nice job. Thanks, Stacy.
Crazy.
Really? Really? Couldn't remember. I looked at your face and like, I saw you looking at your face went blank. I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna forget my name. But I didn't tell you. I don't know if it was
don't think it was her best time, but it was. She was really happy. I'm gonna do two.
Yes, oh my goodness. Wow, good for her.
Yeah. How about yourself? Are you?
I'm not doing this year. I'm doing the covered bridges half, which is here in Woodstock. I mean, that's a 2 week. So.
All right, you're all gonna follow Ryan outside.
Joe is supposed to go to the meeting. No.
I think he's got one to do down.
That's right.
He just smiling face.
No, it's a good. I should get that message. That was why we were here. So you wanted our sounds good.